Hello and welcome to the Segilola Salami Show. I'm your host, Segilola Salami. Oh, I know it's been a while since I've been available. It's just been really, really hectic the last few days. But I'm back now, and welcome to your regular schedules. Hopefully, I won't have any reason to disappear again. And I see that we've got someone new today. Who have I got here with me?
Hello, I'm Kevin Coolidge from Wellsboro, Pennsylvania. How are you doing today?
I'm good and I'm just feeling really exhausted. I feel like I should be having a nap now. It's going on 4 o'clock. The little human, she's at nursery. She's just restarted nursery. So it's kind of like, wow, peace and quiet. Is this what silence is? Is this what life before little human came? So I'm like, should I go and catch up on some sleep or should I go and do something else? But I'm all right all the same. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's almost 11 a.m. here in the States, so I am awake, but a nap never hurts. I do miss the days where I got to take a nap.
Yeah, so what do you do?
Okay, well, I work in a bookstore. I'm a part owner of a bookstore. I operate For My Shelf Books and Gifts in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania, with my wife, Casey Coolidge, and I'm also a children's author.
Oh,
I am the creator of the Totally Ninja Raccoons.
the what, Ninja Raccoons?
The Totally Ninja Raccoons.
What's that about? Obviously, I know there's ninjas, but
Ninjas. Well, the Totally Ninja Raccoons are about a group of raccoon brothers who decided to become ninjas because they already have the mask.
ah, sounds interesting.
I'm really loving this series. I always say I'm the author, and then my friend of mine is the illustrator. So we joke that it's for kids by kids. We just happen to be kids with gray hair and balding spots.
Oh no, that sounds amazing. Okay, and when did you release this book?
Actually, I had the idea, like, no, the origins of stories, they can gel for a long time. So actually, I had this idea several years ago, and my friend, he did some concept art because he's the brilliant artist. I'm the author, and I had this idea, like, because I love cats and I love raccoons. And my joke is, with cats want to take over the world. You know
Yeah.
that, right?
Yes.
They do. I mean, I love cats, but I know they're plotting my demise. And and but of course, cats sleep a lot. They sleep like 18 hours a day, so they don't want to do the work. So
Mhm.
who would they get to do the work for them? Well, dogs already have a job, and
Yeah.
monkeys make too much money. Monkeys want too much money to do it. And possums, I mean, possums don't understand the question. So raccoons already have the mask, so they're perfect. So the origin of this was that cats wanted to hire raccoons to do the dirty work. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the origin story of the raccoons is the Totally Ninja Raccoons meet Bigfoot. That's the first in the series. It's a children's series, mostly for reluctant readers, like second to fourth grade level. But in this series, the raccoons are going through their favorite restaurant, which of course in rural Pennsylvania happens to be the trash cans. So,
Mm-mm.
so, so a guy comes out, shakes his broom at him, and goes, "What are you doing? Like, you little bandits, you thieves, get out of my garbage!" And then the raccoon's like, this garbage was no free trade. It's like you threw it away. We're not bandits. We're we had the mask, so we're going to choose to be ninjas. So, like, a positive message with this is, like, you get to choose your own path. So they choose to become ninjas, and what do you do once you're a ninja?
Yeah.
Well, you need a ninja job, right?
Yes.
Of course. So in this, what they do is, like, Gypsy, who is a cat in this book, and she happens to be my cat at home. She's
Yeah.
because, like, I always, one of the rules of writing is you write what you know. Well, I write where I know and I make the rest up. So Gypsy, who is the cat, she puts an ad in the paper looking for people to do
Mhm.
her dirty work for her. And the Ninja Raccoons answer the ad, and Gypsy wants them to capture Bigfoot so that she can use his powers of stealth and invisibility in her to take over the world. and that kind of sets up the
Yeah.
whole series. But of course, she's a cat,
Mm.
so she ends up. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but she's a cat, so she kind of double crosses the raccoons. So the series is
Ah.
so the series is basically the cat board and versus the ninja raccoons. Have you heard of the cat board?
No.
No. Well, it's a secret organization, so I'm not surprised. But the cat board, the cat board is this international organization of cats who are plotting to take over the world.
Hmm.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, so now that all sounds well good, and I'm going to assume that your books are all available in your bookstore.
The books are available in my bookstore. I mean, they're available wherever books are, and so of course, like they're actually available. No, I'm here in the States, but they are available in the UK as well. You can go into Waterstones and order one if they're not stocking it.
All right. Okay, cool. So what I'm quite interested in is knowing, right? So as a bookstore owner, I'm guessing you're an independent bookstore owner and you're not part of a major franchise. What goes through your mind? So when the new book comes out, what goes, I mean, every year new books come out anyway. So
Yeah,
what
books
goes
come
through
out
your mind?
new books come out like every week. So it's like it's no one person, or we have several people working here. We have about 4 or 5 different people working here, and it's
Yeah.
like it's impossible to keep up. So what goes through our mind when a new one comes out? Well, our store is organic, so we stock a lot of the books. I mean, everybody who works here is a rabid reader. I mean, they love reading. So one of the first thing we do is we see if it's a book that we're interested in it ourselves. So
Ah,
so because if we know that if we love the book, we know we can sell the book. Because you know how, I mean, you know how like, do you know how like you love a book so much that you just have to tell somebody about it?
yes,
Well,
yes.
that's part of our job. So of course we sell books that we really love. So that's one of the first things that we look for. And then our bookstore is what I call organic. I mean, I see it almost as a living entity, because what happens is it responds to the needs of the community. So for example, like no one person or even 4 or 5 people can keep up with everything that's coming out there. So when our
Yeah.
customers come in and they ask, "Oh, do you have the latest book by Bill Riley? Do you have the latest book by you know Max Hawthorne?" What we do is we say, "Oh, well, we can custom order it," and then we can kind of see a lot of times customers let us know what their interest is, and then if some of our people ask for a book, we'll start stocking that book, or else puts it on our radar, because one of my loves as a bibliophile is science fiction and fantasy, but
Yeah.
there's so much out there that actually one of my customers put me onto a new series that is actually he's actually a British author, and like once I read the series, and I love the series so much that I start what we call hand selling. I start telling people about it because I love the series.
Hmm. Interesting. Do you stock any self-published books, or do you wait for people to recommend it first, or after you've read it?
We do actually. It's the same way. I actually discovered a couple self-published authors who actually ended up getting picked up, because I helped a friend of mine who is a Vietnam vet. I helped him publish his book of short stories that were self-published, and I found a book called Monster Hunter International, which was being sold by the same company.
Yeah.
And I looked at the synopsis and I was like, that sounds like a fun book. I think I'll get that for myself, because of course, being a being a passionate reader myself, I'm always looking for my next great read myself. And I said, boy, that's like, and I when it came, I read it and I'm like, no, somebody should have published this book. And
Yeah.
I started hand sawing it out of the store. And when I went to reorder my friend's book, um, I went to order more of them, like Monster Hunter International, and I'm like, I couldn't get it anymore. I'm like, what's up? So I actually I tracked down the author and called him, and he said, well, I got picked up by Bain Books. So so it's like the problem with self-publishing is there's so much, but that's the problem with all books. So I mean, we do carry several self-published by local authors, but we also, that was a book that, Larry actually lives out in Nevada, which is halfway across the states. So I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's the, like, if there's a book that I think is good, I'll sell it if I think somebody wants to buy it or I love it myself.
Interesting. So what about book covers? What do you think about book covers?
Book covers, it's, you hear all the time, don't judge a book by its cover, but people judge a book by its cover. It's just human nature. I mean, a great cover will make you pick up a book. So one of the biggest problems I see with self-published books is a lot of the covers look like self-published books.
Yeah, yeah. But then there are a few authors who I think are also making the effort and investing, in their work, that, there is next to no difference between their book covers and that that's been done by major publishing houses. So do you ever hold book events?
We do hold book events. We hold book events, usually at least one or two a month. So
Okay.
yeah. So like we host authors. We actually have what's called Wellsboro Book Fest, which is, we hold that in October and November of every year. This year coming up is actually our 9th. We've been in a book, and what that is actually it's a large used book sale with the benefits going to our local school system, and we host local and regional authors. So, for example, a lot of times with self-published authors, it's not like it's very hard to break into the publishing world. I mean, I don't have to tell you that. Look how hard J.K. Rowling had. I mean, and people love her series, but she had a hard time when she started. So just because you're self-published doesn't mean the book's not good. Sometimes all you need is an outlet. So our book fest, we hold, it's for local and regional authors, many of which are self-published, and we use the used bookstore to attract people, and then it's an outlet for smaller authors to meet people and to get their book out there. Because even if your book is good, you're going to have to promote it yourself. Even if you're picked up by a larger press, most authors have to promote themselves to a certain degree.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
So now, I think a lot of authors, especially authors who are starting out, they seem to think that if they put their books or make their books available on Amazon, that's all they need to do. So, as a bookstore owner, where do you normally buy your books from?
Like, where do I buy my books from?
Yeah, like the books you stock in your bookstore, where do you buy them from?
Oh, I buy mine from Ingram. Ingram is one of the largest wholesalers of books in the world, and that's my main source for books.
Okay, right. So if it's not on Ingram, you're very unlikely to stock it.
I'm less likely to buy. I mean, we're a pretty small store, so like Ingram has a little bit of everything. So I do a lot of my ordering from there. But some of our local authors, I will sometimes buy some of their books from them. I do use a couple small presses, like Stackpole is a small Pennsylvania press that specializes in outdoor activities. So I do buy some from some smaller sources, but I get like probably 90% of my books I get from Ingram. So that's one of the important things too to mention. If the goal of an author is to get into a bookstore, do not use CreateSpace. That's a subsidiary of Amazon.
Yeah.
And I don't know if a lot of people might not realize it, but like Amazon is really terrible for bookstores.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we get approached by smaller authors several times. So if you ever want to get your book in a bookstore, one of the things to make sure is don't mention Amazon. Because it's a tough, retail is a tough business. And since I am also an author myself, I mean, my books are available on Amazon. I try to sell them myself. And of course, as an author, you want to make your books as available as possible, and that's fine. But it's one of those things that when you're crafting an email or you're crafting a letter to a bookstore, that's something that you want to make sure not to mention. I mean, they know that that everything is available. I mean, even if I didn't want to sell my books on Amazon, they get uploaded there. I mean, that's just the way the landscape is today. But you want to make sure that you're trying to attend to the needs of the bookstore as well.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So, out of interest, though, and this is just out of interest, I know that on Twitter there have been a few conversations where people are campaigning for more diversity in books, especially children's books. So, do you take that into consideration, or does do your clients who come in, they're not really interested? Where are you standing?
It's a mixed bag, because I do, because with readers, I always was into diversity, because one of the nice things about reading is that they've done studies that show that reading help make a person more compassionate, because when you read, you can put yourself into the protagonist, into their mind. So it's a way of learning about other people. I remember actually when I was in 5th grade, I read a book. Part of it was because I was a little rebellious, and all I said is, "Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret." And it's a book for girls. And I'm like, I read it. Actually, a female friend of mine said, "You can't read that. That's for girls." So I read it. But now that puts you in the mindset of a girl going through the changes of life. And so I always encourage, and we do have several books that are diverse. Now I also respond to my customers, and I do live in rural Pennsylvania. It is probably 95-98% white. So I do have several of those books, but it's not the majority of my books.
Yeah.
But we do attend that, and I encourage people to read broadly across the spectrum.
Oh, cool. So let's say the listeners is there, because again, majority of the people who listen, they're in America, which I feel very, very honored that people in America do like listening to my show, like all over the world. So what would you say about people who are in America who want to come to America? Should they make your store a place to stop by?
Well, actually, it's interesting. It's like, because our bookstore has a little bit of everything, and I believe that readers have a certain bond. So I know whenever I'm out somewhere, and actually I went to an author's event this past weekend, and after the event, me and my wife went to a bookstore because we love bookstores. So there's something that this holds bibliophiles together. And actually, an interesting story. I mean, we live in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania, which is very rural, and we're not very close to anything large as a city or anything. And actually, we had several years ago, we had a Brit who visited Wellsboro. We actually, even though Wellsboro is not very metropolitan, we do have some some international visitors here and there, and he became a fan of the bookstore. So it's great. In this modern time with the internet, he was a fan of our Facebook page. He still is a fan of our Facebook page. He follows us, and we can he can remember his fond time in Wellsboro. So why should you come to my bookstore when you visit? Because bibliophiles have a bond.
So I'm actually quite curious now. It's all getting curiouser and curiouser. Rural, what sort of things do you have in your community as a whole? I'm thinking cattle, but then again, I know it's America. You guys probably have some, I don't know, fancy animals.
No, not very fancy, actually. So actually, I live in what's known as the Tyler County. So we have counties in the state, and actually this is dairy country. So there's a lot of dairy farms.
Okay.
So actually, no, I'm born, there's farming in my family, and we have a dairy farm that's been in the family since the pre-American Civil War. So it's like we're on the 5th generation now, I think. Yeah.
Interesting. So what type of, and just because I'm interested, I've got an interest in animals and I'm totally digressing now because we're supposed to be talking about books, but I can never sort of close my eyes and just not talk about animals and cattle whenever the opportunity presents itself. So what type of dairy cattle do you guys have?
Primarily Holsteins. Now there are some jerseys. There are some jerseys that are popular in the area, but most of the farmers here in Pennsylvania use the Holstein.
Mm,
And that's a
interesting.
nice. Yep, that's the nice thing about books too, because no matter what you're interested in, there's probably a book about it. I mean, 'cause we do have so there's several dairy farms in the area that have been here over a century. And of course, no, that's a century is a lot for in America. I know in the UK that's 100 years is you have a longer history than the Americas, but
Yeah.
that's a long time for these parts.
Teresa, why did you guys settle for Holsteins?
Um, I don't know the answer to that. I just know that that seems to be the most popular cow in this dairy cow in this area, but I'm not really sure why they chose the Holsteins over some of the other dairy breeds.
Interesting. I'm just nosy as well.
Oh no, that's a good question. That's one of the things with no curiosity. I think is also a common bond between bibliophiles. No, it's like if there's something, and it's one of my favorite things as a writer too. Is you're supposed to the common uh what's the word I'm looking for? The commonality is that you should write what you know, but I always say you should write what you want to know, because
Yeah.
if you want to know more about something, you explore that and you can write about it. So it's like, why Holsteins over other dairy breeds is an excellent question, and that's something that you can look up and find out about, and sometimes the answer makes sense, and sometimes it's like, oh well, that's interesting, but it doesn't really make sense.
Hmm. Yeah. Interesting. Well, thank you so much. It's definitely been quite enlightening having a just knowing what goes through the mind of a bookstore. Because when I did start, I mean, I do write books as well. Though I haven't written for a good few months now. And the first thing I did was release my book in Amazon, and it was sort of as I continued my journey that I realized actually Amazon isn't the be all and end all. You need to explore, you need to widen your horizon and your reach, and so hopefully any authors who's listening, they would know that possibly they should go and consider Ingram's. So other than Ingram, do you use any of the other distributors? Because I think there are others, but then I'm not quite familiar with all of them.
I don't right now. There's Baker and Taylor is also pretty big, and actually my book isn't available on Baker and Taylor, but I could go through the process to make it. So that's something I'm thinking about. But I know in the States, most independent bookstores use Ingram. There are some that use both Ingram and Baker and Taylor. Some that just use Baker and Taylor. So that is something I'm looking for. One of my as an author, one of the best ways to promote yourself, I think, is from face to face. Now that can be
Yeah.
hard because it's hard for me because I'm actually, being a writer, I do tend to be a little bit more on the introverted side. So,
Yeah.
it's not like I don't like people, but it tires me out a lot going out and that interaction. It can be tiring. It can be both inspiring, but it can be a bit tiring. But it's great to do a book event at a bookstore. Something that works really well for me actually is have you heard of Comic Cons?
Yeah.
Comic Cons. I've done several Comic Cons, and several of those have worked well for me.
Okay.
Because it's a way of interacting with people, and it's because there is so much out there today. I mean, one of the nice things, like self-publishing, has come a long way in the last 10 or 11 years, but
Yeah.
but human behavior hasn't changed. So there's so much out there to choose from that the best way is still to make that human connection.
Yeah. So give people a reason to check you out over the competition.
Right. Yes.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, any last words of wisdom or fancy things to say before we say goodbye?
Not really anything fancy. I'm gonna actually leave with some of the best, what I consider the best piece of advice that an author gave me is if you're writing, just finish something.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be good. It's a first draft of anything. It always leaves something to be desired. But if you want to be writing, just go ahead and finish it. You can always go back and change it.
Yeah. Fabulous. Thank you very much. Oh, and do you have a website?
I do have a website. The website for our bookstore is very easy to remember. It's wellsborobookstore.com. And we're also very active on Facebook. If you want to follow us on Facebook, it's From My Shelf Books on Facebook. And we'd love to hear from you.
Perfect. And are you on Twitter by any chance?
I do, like, we're on Twitter. I don't remember my Twitter handle. I don't really understand Twitter.
You know what? I've got the hang of Twitter. I've just noticed I've got a new Instagram account, and for the life of me, I feel like an old woman. I just cannot get a hang of Instagram. That's the one that seems to have conquered me, but I'm hoping soon enough I'll conquer Instagram.
Yes.
But it's been an absolute pleasure having you around, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Sure. I enjoyed it very much.
Right. Well, thank you very much, and speak to you again soon. Take care now.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.